Good evening, everyone. Today is February 22nd. Welcome to the Berlin Select Board meeting. We are virtually meeting only in light, excuse me, of the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's see, scooting down. We have a call to order. It's just right on 7 o'clock. Yay. So for announcements, meetings of the Berlin Select Board are generally recorded for transmission on both the Berlin Cable Television Access Channel and YouTube. Your voice, image, and/or phone number may be recorded. So first up is the approval of last Monday's meetings.
Minute,
that too.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
All right, see, that's why I have you guys around to like help me read things. All right, Miss June, we are at the correspondence section. Anything you like to share?
You received a copy of the Berlin-Boylston District's budget proposal. I haven't actually gone through it yet. I figure they're going to be meeting with the Finance Committee tomorrow night, so they'll be presenting that. There's also a copy of the bill that we sent out to Benderson as far as for the mall goes for their mitigation for the year. Also, there are a couple of notices there for the reading day at the school. I believe I looked at those quickly. I didn't know if any of you were available to do that.
I did send an email.
Yeah. I wish that I could. I'm already, excuse me, out that week, one day that week at work. I really can't take two. It kills me though, because that was one of the first things I did when I got elected, and it was so much fun that I kept going back. Even when it wasn't Read Across America Day, I kept showing up at the school. They kept letting me in.
Yeah. And sadly for me, Wednesdays are the days I do COVID testing at work. I run the department stuff, so I can't really take those days off.
So no pressure, Chris. It's all on you.
Oh, okay.
And I also saw that there is the charter complaints yearly list. It looks like there's only 2 billing complaints and 4 service and no reception complaints.
Oh boy.
Go ahead, Scott. That's your bailiwick.
Because that's my bailiwick that when I was first elected, I started looking into these sort of things, and to count on that report, you have to file a formal complaint with the state of Massachusetts. And I did republish that form on Berlin Neighbor Connect, and if anyone needs it as well, but it's I mostly find it by Googling, cable in Massachusetts or something like that. And when you fill out the form, it goes to that. But it's also that Charter is our contract with Charter is only for cable TV. Our contract with Charter is not for internet services. And they provide internet services, but so do other providers in the town. And I think in the coming months, there'll be even more providers of internet with new technologies. But I don't want to use this forum to promote any particular vendor one way or the other.
Okay. We also had received a drug force mitigation package that came through for mutual aid. I'm sorry. We have sent that off to the insurance company and also to town council. The insurance company did come back, but they were looking at it more on the legal end of things. And I did send them back an email that asked for the legal, the liability end of things on that, just to make sure that the town was covered. So that is not before you yet to sign. And correspondence from various people were in there also as far as the mask issue. And we did receive a complaint about Maplewood trucking.
So,
And I do know that,
you.
and I believe that Eric was updated as far as the traffic goes. And I did speak with him a little bit, and it's pretty much right now Legally, they can be where they are, so there really is no stopping them at this point in time. You know, I mean, if they were doing something illegal as far as speeding or reckless endangerment or something like that, they could stop them, but just for using the roadway, they can't.
I did
And I
see
think-
one that someone had complained that they were going up before 7 AM, so I don't think that that's in the agreement.
No,
So
I think
that,
that,
yeah, I think that might be the only thing that Eric might be able to step in on.
okay. And I'm not fully up to date on what the actual agreements were on that, so I can look into that if you wish, just to make sure that we're still good.
I think it
Is
was
it-
just something, anybody before 7.
Yeah, and that's usually, I mean, when there's any construction in town, from what I can remember, we've asked everybody to not start before 7 AM. So it's not like it's a special thing. It's, I think the window's like, what, 7 to 5 or something like that we usually put out-ish. Yeah. Okay, all right. Anything else?
And the select board, at least while I've been on it, I think once before told that the agreement that was between Maplewood and the town was negotiated sort of in an executive session. And it's not something that even I could get access to see the agreement. I mean, could we go into executive session, review that document to look at again what sort of they've promised for end dates and understand some of those limitations? Because none of us, I think, were on the select board when that was negotiated, but the idea that it had a never ending, didn't have an end date on it seems to.
Yeah, it did. I don't believe it did, but I could be wrong.
Right.
All right. Well, that's something that we can look into and just see, because I know that's the question that has been asked, is when is it
Yep.
going to end?
Yep.
Okay. All
I
right,
think that was it.
all right, so anything else from Miss June, our correspondence?
No, I think that was all that was in the file.
All right. So next up on our agenda is general public comments. So I can see that our attendee list is growing. I'm going to make a giant assumption here that the majority of the people that are here tonight are for the mask mandate discussion at 7:30. So if your general public comment has anything to do outside of the mask mandate, I ask you to raise your hand and we'll call on you. For those that truly are here about the mask mandate, I ask you to hold until we start that discussion. And I'm zipping through.
See anybody?
Nope. All right. So we'll scoot down to our next item, 7:10. Close enough. So if we could bring up Chief Clark, and I saw Victoria, and I saw Paul in the audience. So if we could bring up those three. And for those in the audience, what we're going to be talking about is just the discussion regarding COVID test case distribution.
Oh, hi, everyone.
There's Chief Clark. Wait for Paul.
Chief, you're muted. There you go.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Chief.
Hello.
Hey, Paul.
Hi there.
Good evening.
All right, so Victoria, Chief, or Paul, I'll let you do rock, paper, scissors, and you know, the winner can run this part of the meeting.
I'll begin and I'm gonna pass it off to Victoria, but Victoria, Chief Clark and I have met several times in anticipation of delivery of COVID test kits. We received delivery this past Friday. We met again today just to finalize our distribution plans for this initial batch of test kits. And I want to underscore initial batch. We realize this is a moving target. We realize there's been considerable money appropriated, but the Board of Health did not feel it was prudent to go all in and get every single available test kit that's available at this point. The demand seems to be slackening. People are able to get test kits from the federal government. So we have an initial bunch of test kits, and we are prepared to order more as demand requires. With that, I'll take a little bit of Victoria's info. Northbrook Village will be getting, both 1 and 2 will be getting an adequate number of test kits this week. And on Sunday, we are preparing to do a drive-through test kit delivery for seniors age 60 and over, and people with comorbidities. And at the tail end of that, it will be basically a first come, first serve for the remaining test kits in this initial allotment. Victoria, I'll pass it off to you.
Yes, so as Paul was saying, Chief Clark, Paul and I have been meeting about this. So this is the information that we are posting for everybody. This is now up on Facebook, both the Council on Aging and the town's Facebook page. It's been posted to Berlin Neighbors Connect as well as to the town website. So as Paul mentioned, we are looking to do our COVID test pickup on Sunday, the 27th. Originally, we were looking for this Saturday, but due to the inclement weather scheduled for Friday, we are just thinking of everybody's safety for pushing it to Sunday. It will be at the town offices, so that's 23 Linden. This is for Berlin residents only, and we are asking for proof of residency. So that could be a driver's license, a state ID, a bill that basically states that you are a Berlin resident. As Paul mentioned, we are looking to focus on those who are 60 and older and those who have comorbidities for health conditions. For the 60 and older, we're looking at times 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And then for everybody else, for first come, first serve basis, we're looking at 12:30 to 2 or until supplies last. Now, if for any reason Sunday's weather turns out to be questionable, which let's keep our fingers crossed it doesn't, the three of us will reconvene again and we will plan another date to have the clinic. But at this point, we are good to go for Sunday. If anybody has any questions, if you are homebound and you are not able to come to the town offices to pick up your test kit, and you are not part of the Northbrook Village that is going to be receiving their test kits, please, please, please call me at 838-2750 or send me an email at coadirector@townofberlin.com, because we will work between Chief Clark, Paul, myself, as well as our boards to make sure that you're going to get what you need. Okay.
So is there anyone, so, you know, the panel here or anyone in the audience have any questions for Victoria, Paul, and or Chief Clark regarding, oh, I see Scott's kind of sort of hand. Okay.
How many test kits per person?
We are doing a household approach. The test kits come in 2 tests per kit. So we will be, if it's a 1-person household, they'll get, or a 2-person household, excuse me, they'll get 1 kit. If it's a 3-person household, they will get 2 kits, which is actually 1 extra kit, but it is just extremely cumbersome and would be a mistake to try and break these kits out into individual tests. So James Wheeler's provided us with a census list this afternoon, so we'll be working off of that. And it's basically 1 kit, which is 2 tests per household of 2. If there's 3 people in the household, it's 2 kits. If there's 5 people in the household, then it increases to the 3 kits or 6 tests.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Questions from the audience? I'm looking, I'm scrolling. And thank you guys for doing this. I know it's a long time coming and there's a lot of work. Obviously, we weren't the only municipality that was looking for these tests. So appreciate you looking out for the town and getting this done for us. All right. Well,
I
Chris,
do,
anything?
let me just
Mhm.
add that Neshoba worked hard to find us test kits at a quantity discount, but they could not gather up an amount of 15,000 to order. So we went off on our own to order kits, which there's no problem. It's just that we were hoping to get test kits at $5 per test. And in the final analysis, we're in the $9 to $10 range, but that was the best we could do.
All right. Well, much luck to you this weekend for the distribution. Yes, let's hope that Mother Nature only has some nonsense on Friday and then she's gone away for a long, long time. So, all right. With
Thank you,
that,
everyone.
thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Chief Clark.
Thank you.
All right. So next up on our agenda is the discussion, Board of Health discussion regarding the mask mandate for the town buildings and at the school. So just a few expectations I want to set before we launch into that discussion. The Board of Health unfortunately did not post a meeting in time to meet with the open law guidelines. Therefore, only Paul will be speaking for the Board of Health. So I'm going to request that Bob Wheeler and Sue Regaris stay in the audience and not come up to the panel. I'm going to ask, let's see, is she here? Yeah, I'm going to ask for Julie Lee and Laurie Hart to be brought up to the front where they can talk to us a little bit about the schooling and their input and information. I'm going to ask the folks in the audience. I know that this is from the letters that have come in. First of all, thank you to the parents for taking the time to write them and for all the statistics that have come in. I think we got a few today that came in as well. So they'll definitely be taken under advisement and looked at. If folks need to say something, please raise your hand, but know that since we have quite a few people here, I'm going to limit discussion from you for comments, no more than 30 seconds to allow people to give their input. I'm asking people not to continue what the other person said for repetition. If somebody said, hey, I don't agree with this, if there are others who are of that ill, that also do not agree with it, please don't raise your hand and just continue on. If there are people who would like to voice an alternate opinion, I mean, that's what we're here for, is to work together on this and come up with some sort of solution. So just want to put that out there. So what I'm going to do, Laurie, nice to meet you. Yay, first time that I've meeting you.
Nice to meet you as well, Peg.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is ask Laurie to give, since she's the head of the board, school committee rather. I keep calling you board, just come onto the board. School committee to give us a little bit of update then, and then I'm going to flip it over to Julie Lee to talk a little bit more about parent impact and some feelings with that, and then I will turn it over to Paul. So Laurie, if you want to roll first, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First, I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to speak regarding the school committee's recent vote to follow the updated masking, which is guidance that we received from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, which I will refer to as DESE, just for easier purposes. On February 15th, we held a school committee meeting and the board unanimously voted on amending policy EBCFA. This policy states the wearing of a face covering is optional in all schools, effective at 12:01 a.m. on Monday, February 28th, 2022. Individuals are not required to wear a face covering on school property, but may do so if desired. This means as of Monday, the mask mandate is no longer in effect. And under our policy, teachers and administrators are not able to enforce it. Our decision was based not only on extensive research, some provided by parents and community members in the medical field, as well as parental input. And we received many emails. We had a listening session. There was public comment at 5 of our meetings just in 2022 alone regarding masks. And the majority, we also had a survey. The majority wanted masks off. They wanted it not necessarily off, masks optional. Additionally, the boards of health in Grafton, Hudson, Marlborough, Northborough, Southborough, Westborough, Shrewsbury, and West Boylston have lifted their mandates, while Boylston, Bolton, and Clinton are slated to lift theirs on the 28th. With so many local boards opting to lift their municipal mandates, we felt more sure of giving our families the option to mask. And lastly, when we regionalized, we became one district. Our students, regardless of address or grade, are promised equity in our schools. We respectfully ask that you consider giving the school committee, who are the ones who are tasked with setting policy for all schools in the district, the decision-making authority that DESE has granted us. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Laurie. I appreciate that. Julie, if you want to open up your mic and talk to us a little bit and share some comments that I'm sure other parents have provided you.
Thank you, Peg. I'm just going to introduce myself first. Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Lee, and I am a Berlin-Boylston School Committee member. I am the Berlin Recreation Committee Chair, and I'm the Berlin Youth Basketball Program Director. I have 4 children, 2 at BMS and 2 at Tohoto. I'm telling you all this, not to have pity on me, but because I want you to understand that I have a good pulse on how parents are feeling in regards to things happening in the community, particularly the mask mandate in town, and how that could potentially impact their children at BMS come Monday, February 25th. It's hard to quantify the effects of masks, but what we do know, I have so many notes in front of me. We know that children are slipping backwards in terms of social development. We know that children are slipping backwards in terms of reading. We know that children are slipping backwards in terms of speaking. They're losing out on school events. Families are concerned. Naturally, our English language learners are struggling. You can imagine if you're trying to learn a new language and you have a face covering over your mask, how very difficult that is. For kindergarten age children, I'm going to give you a very quick example that it was taught to me by one of the kindergarten teachers years ago. When they teach letters and sounds, they use their mouth and they put their hand here to make sounds the p and the b. Our children are not seeing that. They're losing that very fundamental beginning enunciation of those sounds, which then will have a trickle effect when they get into 1st grade and naturally they're reading. So families definitely are quite concerned. I think we think when the risk was high, as all of us did, we wore the masks for as long as we needed to. We watch the numbers now, they're dropping. The risk is a lot lower. Our positivity rate is low. Our COVID cases in town are low. As a result, the landscape is different and the time has come, I think, for a town to have the mask mandate lifted, especially because all of the surrounding towns have lifted theirs also. And their positivity rates are higher. Their case counts are higher, but yeah, we still have our mask mandate in effect. I have a series of questions, not many, just maybe 5 or 6 for Paul. So maybe after Paul, you go ahead and speak, if I can ask those after Peg to Paul, if that would be okay.
Absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Julie.
You got it.
All right, Mr. McKelk, over to you.
Okay. Some of what I say is almost going to make the previous 2 participants, what they've said, outside of the lines. The Board of Health has looked at what the schools do separately from our town-owned buildings. We, over the course of this pandemic, we really haven't had any interaction with the school committee. They haven't requested us, and we haven't tried to overlay anything on them. We feel they know their business better than we do. We understand municipal buildings, our municipal offices and so forth. And so we look at this as two different paths, really. And in saying that, and I've talked to the superintendent, I'm aware of the testing programs the school committee has in place. And with this lease, no lease type situation, the Board of Health, and one of the reasons we didn't post a meeting is we didn't really expect to do any deliberation tonight, because the board has always felt that the school committee should deal with the school's own business. And that it's not the Board of Health position, unless the school committee really went off the rails, and that certainly doesn't seem to be the fact over the last couple of years. So our concern has been limited just to town-owned buildings that the school is not involved in. We feel that the school can handle what they do better than we can. I mean, they know their population, they know their traffic flows, they have testing programs, frankly, superior than what basically a volunteer Board of Health can offer at this point. And I mean, at the end of the day, our Board of Health, the Berlin Board of Health, is just going to really rely on our school committee people to be doing the right thing. And so far, it seems like that has been holding true, and we have no issue with it. And we do not intend to, this town-owned building mandate. The Board of Health reviews it every 2 weeks when we meet, and we will continue to do so. But that is for the municipal building, the library, and other town-owned buildings, not school buildings.
So then, Paul, you're saying that as of the 28th, that the school, Berlin Memorial, is allowed to follow, per Laurie, Desi, to lift the mandate and not have the kids not have the kids have masks in school, but they are required to wear them on the bus.
On the
Is
bus,
that
because I
correct?
believe
Larry's
that's
shaking his head.
federal, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Right, I believe the reason that this is unclear is that we do not currently have a written lease between the town and the school board.
But
It
the
says
intent
where
is
these
there.
lines- Right, the intent is there, I agree, Paul.
And
And
I
so,
think that's really what dictates this.
right, and so would potentially motion from the select board to back up that intent so that there's at least something out there in writing that the schools should have control over health and safety issues in the schools, help sort of resolve this confusion that's led us to this point?
Absolutely. I think it would be a injustice to do anything otherwise, because the school committee, Lord willing, they know their business better than the Board of Health. And they shoulder they shoulder a serious responsibility. So we don't feel that they take it lightly. And they access all sorts of information that the local Board of Health probably doesn't, because our populations are different.
Julie, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask Paul, or Laurie? Any questions that you wanted to pose to Paul?
Mine are not relevant now because
Okay.
of what Paul just said. But Paul, I think that's really great perspective, and we wouldn't have really probably had this conversation until this point. So I think it was your response was thoughtful, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
This was absolutely meaningful and had to happen, and maybe could have happened earlier, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. And this pandemic has just been evolving. The science changes week to week as people learn things. So, my only problem is with people who think that a stake needs to be put in the ground and everything is black and white. It falls on the different committees that deal with either school children or public buildings to analyze and make appropriate decisions.
So
And I-
Laurie, any questions?
No, just wanted to thank Paul. I really appreciate the things that you said.
You're welcome. I think they're appropriate for everybody involved here.
Saw your hand go up.
My hand?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
did you? Or were
That's
you
me.
just like waving?
No, I'm just waving to you, Peg. No, I just wanted to say that this is a really unique situation that has come up, and hopefully anything, not to deal with COVID, could be anything, can be improved by better communication. As far as I am now the liaison to the school committee, and I would appreciate it if anybody has anything that they want to share with me, and vice versa, that we will do that.
That sounds great.
And I guess I would say offer the same to the school committee, although I think they have things in good hand, but the Board of Health is here. You know, we can do whatever research is possible should you need some kind of assistance, but you know, carry on.
So Scott, I'm gonna switch, oh, wait a minute, yes, Miss Jones?
I was just curious as to what the school's policy is as far as just to keep an eye out. I'm hoping we don't have to worry about it, but if any of the numbers should start to turn up, are you looking at that on a regular basis just in case?
So we had a meeting on February 15th, and it was squeezed in because we didn't anticipate the Department of Education coming out so quickly with their guidance. We actually had a March 1st meeting originally, and then we changed it. And because it was squeezed in before the budget hearing, we were limited on time. So what we did was we adopted an alternate face covering policy, and that's the one that I just read out loud. And then we had more to say about it, but due to the time, we suggested that the policy subcommittee meet separately to discuss what's going to go into this policy. So right now it's pretty bare bones, but it will be changed once we meet and discuss.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe perhaps you could share it once it's been approved by the committee. That'd be
Sure,
great.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Chris. That's a good idea.
Scott, I'm gonna swing it back to you where you had mentioned possible motion.
Yeah, I struggle with some of the wording, and so people can gladly improve it. I think the intent is that I think I will move that we allow the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District to control COVID-related and policies at buildings that they oversee, and that the town policies for the Board of Health for town buildings do not include those buildings.
I will second that.
Any other questions, further discussion? Looking. All right, I don't see any. So I'll kick it off with a vote. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
All right, there you go, Julie, Laurie, company, Superintendent Zangi. I see you sitting over there in the sidelines. And again, thank you for all the parents who showed up tonight. You know, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your voice, your care for your children, the concern. There are no words to express that. So, you know, thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right.
Agreed.
All right. Well, best of luck to you guys. Let us know if you need anything. You know how to find us.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work that all of you folks do.
You bet. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a great night.
All right.
The cat's having a coughing fit. Sorry about that. All right. So we're going to, I know, well, you know, she's old and she coughs and I get worried. So, all right. So Miss June, otherwise known as TA2, you are up for our town administrator report.
I think you have most of the items listed underneath either old business or new business.
Okay.
I just wanted to update you a little bit. I had because we have been looking into the different aspects of the retirees' health insurance. Tim Wheeler had recommended that I speak with Janet Pierce from the Central Mass Regional Planning. And to see, because she's been involved with it, not only there at the CMRPC, but also she's worked with other towns. So we sat down and we had a little chat. She gave me a lot more information, and she also gave me a lot more questions for us to take a look into. She did offer, though, by all means, that she would be willing to come out and chat with us. So that way there, some of the questions that we all do have could be answered. She also suggested that maybe we could think about doing like a workshop type of a thing that would involve, because it is such a big, well, I think it's a very big project to think about. And it is, as Scott has pointed out, it's financially large also, and it will be continuing. So we were thinking that it would be a great idea if we could set up a little bit of a workshop between the select board, the TA, the IAC committee, and also the finance committee. Just so that way there we could get all aspects of it. And that way there we can also come up with a lot of the different questions that we might have, and she can help answer it. And if she doesn't have the answers, she can hopefully get them for her. She did recommend that I reach out to our DLS people who gave us the financial review. And also I reached out to my DOR rep. I haven't heard back from her yet as far as if they had any type of bulletins or documentation or anything like that as far as the whole aspects of it. So currently, again, the articles are still listed, and I would like to write them up, have you take a look at them and keep them there as being available if needed, but they could always be passed over at a later date. So I'm not asking for you to give any definites, but that was just an update as far as some of the things that have been happening as far as the retirees' health insurance.
I think that's a good idea. They have
I'm
like
just
a-
thinking there's a lot of questions and financial end of it also. And as Scott brought up, I think at the last meeting, as far as how much actual work would it also add to the offices here in town as far as additional tracking or billing or anything like that. The other thing that she did say something about that I haven't had a chance to look into was that she actually has some sort of a software that she can do her own actuary calculations. So that might be something else for us to look at. So that way there, it doesn't cost us quite as much as what it's costing us. But I would assume we would have to know a little bit more before we could take on that responsibility. So.
Well, June, let us know. I mean,
Okay.
you know, you're closer to this probably than all of us. So, you know, when you feel that you have enough information to pop something on the agenda, just give a holler and we'll
Yeah,
drop
just
it on and then invite whomever we need to invite
Yep.
to talk about it and just go
And the
through
big
it.
thing was, is that we were trying, I think the reason why she worked in her schedule to be able to talk to me quickly was because Tim did mention the fact that we did have the warrant closing next
Mhm.
week. So if we did want to keep on the articles, I would have to make sure I know which articles needed to go there in case you chose to do anything about it this year versus bouncing in another year or two. So, but I will keep you posted on that. I don't know if you want me to bring up anything as far as the opera stuff goes now, or if you want to just wait till it's later on in the list.
For kicks and giggles, let's wait until it's on the list. It's only 3 down.
I think that's pretty much all I have that's not already listed on the agenda.
All right. Scott, Chris, any questions for Ms. Poland?
They're all related to things on the agenda.
No. All right, Chris, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so Chris, you're up.
Yeah, I like my name on
update.
the agenda.
You like that, huh? Chris, update on the River Bridge overdue payments.
I did send you both an email this afternoon late. But I was going to read, I have something I wrote up about our meeting, so I'm going to read it to you. I met with Chris and Matt Senni by Zoom last Tuesday. The Sennis were originally planning to sell down their shares of the hotel to pay their obligation in one lump sum in the contract agreement with the town. And according to Fred Rodell, the owner of the hotel, our hotel is doing well, but the other hotels they own were hit hard by Omicron. So in order to assist the Sunnies with their payments to the town, they will sell down their shares of the hotel, and Fred Rodell has agreed to pay $16,000 to the town for each of 7 months, starting on the 15th of March. This adds up to $112,000, with an additional $155,000 by November 1st of 2022. And that would cover the total of the 3 years and $300,000 that Riverbridge owes to the town by that date. I have, and I forwarded that email to you. That sort of memorializes the agreement. Margaret set up a meeting for us to meet again on March 1st before she went out on leave. I think June and I probably need to talk about whether we meet with Chris and Matt and the entire group, or just with our highway superintendent and the Sunnies to discuss the pedestrian bridge and sidewalk. This would enable us to make sure that the town and Riverbridge are on the same page with this. It may be difficult to meet the deadline of December to get these items accomplished. Riverbridge plans to finance this project through refinancing or relending. I can send this to you also, what I wrote. And it may be advantageous to also invite Fred Rodell from the hotel to the March 1st meeting, just to confirm everything that they've sent to us. Matt and Chris are interested in getting feedback from town officials on the fiscal impact study that we received last year as to the accuracy and agreement with the outcomes of the study. If you have any feedback, please email me and I can keep a list and share it with the Sunnies at a future meeting. I would like to also suggest that we get some numbers from Chief Clark of the calls to the apartments to use when we discuss the ambulance services to Riverbridge. And at some point at a future meeting, they would like to discuss suggested uses of Lot 9B and the town's interest in the River Run property. And that is about it. Is there any questions? Are you happy, Peg?
I got
happy.
questions.
Oh boy.
I'll be happier in 3 weeks when we get the first payment.
Yes.
All
Well, I
right.
told them it was imperative that they had to have something that I could share with you tonight.
All right, so I've got a few questions. So Chris, was anything discussed on what happens if a payment is missed? So they say that they're going to pay every month, but what happens? I'm going to look up at the calendar. June comes and goes and there's no $16,000 payment that comes into the town.
Then if the least we could do is remind them that they have a payment due. And I did get, as you might see in the email that I sent you, that Chris sent me this afternoon, is that there is a number for Fred Rodell that I was welcome to call him and confirm that this was the plan. As far as the no payment, there is nothing in the contract that stipulates if a payment is late. And that's why we haven't been able to sort of handle the issue up to this point.
Yeah, I've got a couple issues with this. I mean, there's $68,000 owed from last year we don't have. There's $100,000 owed from this year that we don't have. And in going back through my notes, there was something that Tom had mentioned about the 20-year-old radios that police and fire have that definitely needed to be updated. That missing money could have easily taken care of that, or maybe made a huge dent in it. So, where this is public safety mitigation money, that's a huge concern of mine that should have been taken care of with timely payments. The second issue, over the weekend, I don't know who was reading the item, but there was a nice little article on self-defense, police departments, self-defense programs for women. There's towns around us that are offering, Boylston being one of the closest ones, self-defense programs for women. I'm sure that Chief Shartner has no doubt that he wants to do this. I know that I would be a huge proponent of it. But again, it costs. That suit that you wear, when you get attacked, that's easily $3,000 for that. I don't think that's in the fire or police budget to do that. Here's an opportunity to present a self-defense program to the women in town, but yet again, because public mitigation safety money was not paid on time, may not be able to do something like that. Chief Shartner may have something up his sleeve, I don't know. But when I look at things like that, that could definitely benefit the town, but unfortunately, because now Berlin's on a payment plan by someone who said, yep, we're going to give you this amount of money every year, and they've failed to come through with it. I've got huge concerns about this. And I know, as we've talked about, there's nothing in the contract. I know our hands are kind of sort of tied. We can't assess penalties. We can't assess fees. Berlin is basically at the mercy of Riverbridge to pay us. So I'll stop, and I will let Scott and or June comment.
I believe this contract is that money is mitigation money, not public safety mitigation money. It's for the mitigation of all things, the impacts they have on the town, not just public safety. And I also think as a town, anything that's a high priority, we're a $15 million budget with $650,000 in public safety mitigation coming in from Commons, that if there were $3,000 and $5,000 things we'd like to do, we should be able to find the money to do that. That doesn't mean that I'm not upset that they've not paid. when I was on FinCom, we were asking about some of this stuff, and every time we did, the town agreed to an adjustment to the plan. The dates for this to start got pushed out. Yes, would I rather have had the money 3 and 5 years ago? Definitely. But having a payment plan is better than having nothing. And if the money starts coming in, I'll be happy.
So June, question for you as our pseudo town administrator and our accountant gal. When the money comes in on a monthly basis, are we waiting until it's all in to be able to do something with it? Or can we use it as it comes in?
One, I'm going to have to double check on what Scott just said, because I really don't know the answer to as far as what it can be used for off the top of my head now.
And I don't either. I'd have to look back at the contract.
It's been a while since I looked at it.
I think what we've learned from Highland Commons is it flows to general funds and ultimately free cash.
And as of right now, I believe that's probably what the answer would be, based on the DLS review that they gave us as far as other mitigation funds. So we wouldn't be able to use it anyway at this point in time. If it starts coming in March, we should be able to have March, April, and May, and possibly June. We will not have funds available for this town meeting. So it will, I'll double check on it and I'll give you an answer next week. But yeah, I would say that it's not money that would be usable right now.
So if they had paid on time, then that money would be usable. But because we're on a payment plan, we have to sit and wait for all of last year to come in and all of this year to come in before we can do anything.
No, wait. Whatever money is in by June 30th, we can get set of free cash of the following town meeting. We could. So whether or not they paid it all in November or paid it all by June 30th, it would have the same effect for us. Now, we won't have all of it by June 30th by their payment plan. We'll just have a handful of payments at that point. We'll have some money that will be end of fiscal year 22 free cash we could spend at May 23's town meeting if we'd like to. It'll be in the free cash number, so it also doesn't have to be spent.
And I think we need to think positively.
Right.
They are doing their best, I believe, to try to get the money that is owed to the town to us. And I think we just need to think more positively, and hopefully,
Yeah.
It's going to work. I mean, nobody likes to owe anybody money, and
Right.
at
I
least
believe
most
they would have been
people.
happy to have paid us 2 years ago if the things had gone the way they wanted to go in those developments. They would have paid then too.
Right. We didn't want to have, well, I can't say that. We didn't vote on the townhomes. But there were a lot of people who did not want the townhomes. They'd rather have something else. If they could have sold it to the people who were going to build the townhomes, then they would have been able to pay us like all of it, $500,000 all at once. But, that wasn't the case, the way things went. So
Chris, could you go over those numbers again? I have equal signs all over the place. So 16,000 starting in March,
it'd be seven
which
payments,
is Tuesday. Yep. All right.
7 payments starting March 15th.
Yep.
7 payments of $16,000 equals $112,000. I did
Okay.
send you an email to this effect.
Yeah.
I know, but for the
Okay.
folks that are here that aren't privy to that email.
All right.
Okay.
So that would be March 15th, April 15th, May 15th, June 15th, July 15th, August 15th, and September 15th. And then an additional 155,000. I think they're hoping that things will turn around for their hotels, would be paid by November 1st. And then they would be caught up. Plus they would have paid the November 1st payment that's due in 2022. So, and they did say they appreciate the town's patience on this and look forward to getting fully caught up by November 1st. So if you have any questions besides, what we talked about tonight, feel free to, you can email June, she can pass it on to me. Or, if it's just a specific question, you could probably just email me. And I will find out the answer.
Okay.
And I think probably June and I will both be looking at the contract, the signed contract, to see, the answers or the questions that you had tonight.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've looked at the actual contract.
Yeah, well, yeah, it has been for me too, a little bit, but, as we've been meeting sort of regularly up until probably the meeting was it last annual town meeting? Yes. When they had all of those articles on the warrant. We had been meeting regularly with them up until then. And then after that, we haven't met so much until now.
So do you think you're going to meet with them on March 1st?
I think it would be
Yeah.
a good idea if June is going to be available. I would like her to attend also. And we talked about having our Fred come because Fred's been doing investigating on the pedestrian bridge and the sidewalk. And we want to make sure that I think Matt has been looking into it also. We want to make sure that they're on the same page. And that, nobody's going off on a tangent, that we're working together to, achieve these items.
So I will leave it at this. I'm looking up at a calendar. So if you're meeting with them on March 1st, which is a week from today, let me know if you see any value in bringing Fred, Hotel Fred? That's what we're going to have to call him, Town Fred and Hotel Fred.
Exactly.
Bringing
Our Fred and their Fred.
all right, our Fred, their Fred, if there is any true value in bringing Hotel Fred to the meeting on the 7th, and then we'll have plenty of time. I can whiz that on the agenda for that, so.
Yeah, and you know, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea since the payments will start March 15th. You know, we could cover whatever we need to cover with Fred Rodell, and then we could have the rest of the discussion with our Fred and the Sunnies.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk to him and see what he wants to come to talk to us about, because I just don't want him to, Fred, just to show up on the agenda and kind of wait for us to pose questions. I'd really like him to put a plan together as to what he's going to talk about and agreements and promises and everything that they have in play. That would be awesome.
Well, this is a meeting that we have set up with the Sunnies and the group that Margaret put together. Or, like I said, we could just have, instead of having, I think the other members are Stan Rogolinsky and Chief Clark, and it would be Eric.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
those
I mean,
are the other 3 members that, you know, they may or may not want to be in attendance at this meeting if we're just going to discuss, you know, what is going on with each side on this pedestrian bridge and sidewalk.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm writing, so that's why I'm not looking at any of your apologies. I'm okay with March 7th for Hotel Fred and our Fred, you know, to talk about the bridge and the sidewalk, and then for Hotel Fred to talk about.
Well, I can
payments and things like that.
update you at the following select board meeting.
All right, so then you don't want Hotel Fred to come?
No, not to the select board meeting. I was saying have him come to the March 1st meeting.
Oh, all right, okay.
With, you know, with June and I.
Okay, I will scratch out my note.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And I would say-
That's why God invented paper. Okay.
I was going to say, as far as how the meeting goes, or if there's any problems or questions or issues, then we could always throw it on the agenda on that Thursday.
Right.
If we need to bring it in front of the board.
All right.
Right.
So I won't have Hotel Fred come, but Chris, I'm gonna pop you back on the agenda.
Okay.
For an update. Okay. All right. All right. So Chris, agenda item. All right. Making a note. Okay. Cool. Well, I appreciate you bringing that back to us and sending the information along. So thank you for that. Scott,
You're
any
welcome.
further questions before we skip along to our next topic?
Oh, next is fine.
Okay. All right, June, you are up. I don't know if you have any recommendations on the budget lines?
Nothing,
Okay,
not yet.
that was easy. All right,
They're in the works, but nothing for a proposal.
okay. So, June, I'm gonna let you go first. We're up to ARPA requests. I know that you had some stuff that you said that you wanted to bring up in your TA report, but I asked you to hang on.
I just want to make sure that we do still have one more week of gathering any more ideas or thoughts as far as what the fundings may be used for. I did look at Mary's updated list, and we have over 60 ideas listed, which is wonderful to some degree.
I know.
Out of those 60, there's only about 25-ish that have dollar amounts, and just with those 25 or about, we're already over $1.1 million. So there is going to have to be a very guideline orientated look at these. But I also looked at some of them quickly, and I think there may be other ways of possibly funding this. I just wanted to go back to Margaret's original presentation that she did to just remind people that this is a one-time funding source for one, and that we were really looking for things that are just one-time costs, and also that there were no reoccurring costs associated with them or maintenance for them as far as an added cost later on to the town.
Right.
And we were also looking at it on ways that this funding could possibly help us offset or put us in a better position to gain access to other grant funding for the future of the town in regards to items that were really going to be needed to be looked at anyway. And maybe this could help us offset some of those costs, such as engineering costs. I know that there were 2 grants that just came out this past week that I had seen, and I talked to Fred about. One was for the small bridge, and the other one I think was also culverts. And both of them require you to have engineering to get the grants. So those are the types of things that we were hoping for. I'm not saying that's a done deal, but that was definitely an idea that we were throwing out there originally. So I'm thinking right now, I think it's definitely going to have to be a group effort as far as to categorize some of the items that we did receive, which a lot of great ideas. But I think it's also going to be something that we're going to work with very closely, I think, not only with the board, but also with the finance committee and the CPA, CPC, community preservation, and also capital planning. I think it's really important. So at least that way there, we can all put our minds together and plan something, because I know there are a lot of different funding sources right now. And the state is also coming out with a lot more grants and funding available. So we don't want to duplicate any effort if there is other funds out there that we could possibly offset some of these expenses. But again, that's just a quick shout
I want to
out.
be clear though, I think in some of these cases, I want to go the other direction. Although we could spend stabilization or free cash, we could spend CPA. There are places where I'd rather spend these monies so that that CPA money and that stabilization and that free cash is available in future years, because this is one-time money, they'll go away. And if we can sort of use this to not drain those other funds now, so that 2, 3, 5, 7 years now, we still have money in those funds to do other things, I think is a good use. I don't think I want to do that with all of them.
Right.
But I definitely want to think of that in some things.
Yeah. I think a lot of these, I think they need to be looked at individually and seen, you know, really to look at and put our heads together as far as some ideas.
Right. I also want to frame the discussion in that I think we have till February 20th to come up with the first list of things.
Yes.
Because we have until 2024 to
spend,
designate it,
to
and
actually
2026 to actually
commit.
spend it.
Right.
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 And so
this is no rush.
Right. I don't think this is a rush. Although that said, if I can control the universe and timing, which I know I don't, and if I had full knowledge of everything, which I know I don't, I would in March as a select board find a couple of these that are clearly fit the categories of things we're looking for, are relatively small, and commit to it. I think there's some of these things, like you just mentioned, where doing an engineering study now gets us money that's available relatively soon, but I don't want to wait till town meeting. I don't want to wait much longer. And that there might be some of those worthy of kicking off. There also might be some smaller maintenance and repair items that generally are universally approved, fairly universally approved. Like, I don't want to pick any particular project because my obvious projects might not be other people's obvious projects. But there might be some where you could each find some projects and we go, yes, that's worthy of not waiting much longer, because that saves the town ongoing money, is clearly a one-time cost, you know, or puts us in a position to speed up projects that are in town.
Yeah.
Or
make funding available.
And continue doing that.
Yep.
And continue doing that, because I also think that as we close the warrant, we could decide that, hey, this one, even if we're going to spend ARPA funds, we want to make sure this really is supported by the town, and we want it to be a warrant article for ARPA funds, even though we don't legally have to.
Right.
But we want to make sure that particular one is well supported.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chris, you had a question?
No, I wanted to make a comment. I figured that was the best way. Hello. So, I mean, there also may be some that could be put off for a year or 2 or 3 and aren't as immediate as others. They may be important, but maybe they're not as important as far as time. So yeah, I think we have a good start on at least what we need to look at when we look at this list. And I looked at the list myself this week, and I think there's quite a list. And I think what I'm going to do is support some of these, because other than, I know I had asked about landscaping for around the town buildings,
We have an idea for that.
Well, good, because I think it might not be something that should be use the ARPA funds. Because it may actually be something where you want someone to come back each year. So, you know, initially, maybe not, but it may be something that we need to budget for.
No,
I'd love to hear your idea at some point, June.
no, you know what I mean? I'm just thrilled at the amount of input from folks in town. You know, from things, you know, traffic and feasibility studies and, you know, transmission repair and things like that. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on here. So, you know, obviously this is the easy part, gathering all this stuff. You know, the hard part is going to be putting all the requirements together on, you know, does it benefit the town, or how does it benefit the town, and can it come from somewhere else, and is there going to be costs that pop up, you know, 2 to 3 years later, you know, type of thing. So this is certainly not the end. It's the very first train ride that we have here, is just to pull all this stuff together. And I'm thrilled that we don't have to, like, oh my God, hurry up and make a decision when it needs to be spent by the end of May.
Right.
That, you know, that thought and process can go into it, and there can be healthy discussion between us and finance and the finance team and CPA and CPC, and, you know, throw the ideas up on the board and have everyone kind of like stand up and you know, pitch the ones that they want.
So the other thing I was thinking about this week is the fact that this might also be another opportunity for a workshop. Because meeting with all these different groups, it might be better in a workshop.
Yep.
Rather than taking time during one of our meetings.
Yep, and bouncing between when we have questions all in one area
Yep.
that we can ask and throw it out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. We can go invade the ZBA room like we did with our goals and objectives, and you know, maybe have cable come. Since I think when we tried to keep turning our laptops around to show on the board, you know, it didn't really work all that well. So, and see, I don't know, can those TVs be used somehow to display the information that we use for the clicky buttons?
Sure,
For
maybe.
town voting?
I think you'd have to check with cable access on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just a thought, you know, or a call to those folks to say, you know, can we use the TVs to, so we'll do that. But no, so yeah, so we've got at least a week from yesterday to send your thoughts on in, put them there. I know a couple committees wrote and said, hey, you know, we need more time. And my response was, you know what, just get them in, because I think a lot of them, I know some of mine was like a ballpark figure. I Googled, I could be spot on, I could be way off, I could be way low. But at least the thoughts are in there so that we can start to prioritize and fill them. Cool. Yay, 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 yay. All right, where'd my agenda go? All right. Mary, I don't know if there were any, or June, if there were any status on the overdue town reports, or we are status quo from last week.
I know I didn't see any come in, but I did talk to one person to see if we could put it on her to-do list, was the TA, to get hers town report in. So she said she's going to work on that. That's her first project.
Oh, well, let her work 5 minutes a day. There you go.
Exactly. We
All
may
right.
have to proof it, but
Yeah. It's all good. No, we'll just have to drive up to her house and, you know, say, Margaret, give us your laptop. We're going to hold it and take it back and give it to you in 20 minutes. And that's all we can do for intervals. All right. So down to, so thank you for that. Thank you, everybody, for putting those
did Mary have any,
updates.
yeah.
There's only one thing that came in, which was the town clerk's personal, which wasn't even on the list. So that's like everything else that's been not answered remains like no one, literally no one answers.
Okay.
Except for the town clerk one. She's cranking them out as fast as she can, but that's going to take some more time. So Energy Committee, trustee of trust funds. Off the top of my head, I put a snapshot in your folder tonight under that category of what's outstanding, but there's no answer. Energy is not answering at all, so.
Do we still have an energy committee?
Well,
Well,
as
that's
far
what
as
I
I
was
know,
thinking.
I mean, I'm the liaison for that. We have not met. Last time we met was in person months ago down in one of the rooms at the town hall.
Eloise
So-
states that she also cannot get her fellow
that's right.
board members to answer her, so
Yep.
I don't know if there is an energy committee.
I'll reach out to, that's right. I forgot that Eloise was on that committee. Okay.
Mm.
All right. I'll see what I can do. And if not, if we don't get one, then we don't get one. There's not too much that we can write. All right. So, Miss June, do you
No, I
have
have-
any?
No appointments this week.
Do you have any update on the highway positions?
We are having interviews on Thursday, the 24th.
For both slots or just one?
Just one. We have not yet advertised for the second one. That is something I need to look and see about the job description,
Okay,
now that you just said that.
cool. All right. Well, yay. Maybe Fred will get another body soon. So to definitely
the
help out.
Other update is, I believe, Richard is in the process of setting up interviews for electrical inspector March 10th, I think is what he has. So
Okay. All right. Well, hey, things are moving. So that's all we can ask for. All right. So up under new business is a refinance request. June, you were mentioning that this is something that Margaret has taken care of, but
this is normally something that you wouldn't actually see.
Okay.
But because Margaret is not here, there's a lot of personal information in this. But it's pretty much, Mary was good enough to send it over to the Metro West CD, and they took a look at it and they said everything looks to be in order. So it's just a matter of signing off on it, but I do not have the authority to do that. So I would require your signature in place of Margaret's, where she is not here.
all right. So I'm gonna assume that we need a motion to allow me to come down and scribble.
June, can I just ask you, you sent it to Metro West, or did you send it to Assabet Valley?
No, I believe this went to Metro West.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the refinance request of 14 Village Lane.
And to
I'll
allow
second.
me to go down and sign in Margaret's absence.
For signature by the chair, please, because it does need, it's a.
For signature by the chair.
There you go.
I will still second.
Thanks, Scott. Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
T5.
All right, Mary, let me know when it's ready. I can skippy-doo down tomorrow
On the table
after
now.
work.
On
Oh,
the
you're the best. All right,
Very
I will
quick.
get down there tomorrow. June, I'll shoot you a text, let you know that I've signed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so up next, these were a couple of traffic advisory committee items that popped up from last week. The first one, I'm thinking it's up, I don't know, I haven't been down that way, is an approval of a stop sign request from the Traffic Advisory Committee at Carter Street and Central. The Traffic Safety Board approved this on 2/15.
Do we approve these as well? I thought just traffic safety approved them and it was done after that.
No, you have to approve them. You've all kindly signed it in advance of this vote, just, just so that the
Yeah.
paperwork is done, but yes, the board does vote that.
Okay.
And it's not up yet, at least if it shouldn't be, but if it, no big deal if it is, but it's pending your approval tonight.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the stop sign request for Carter Street at Central Street.
And this is the one that they had the big meeting about it. I thought they decided at that meeting they didn't want to do the stop sign. I'll second it.
No, this is a non-controversial, totally.
Okay.
accepted one.
Right.
All right. So a motion and a second, Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
There you go, Fred. Fred and Company. Before the snow flies or after the snow flies at your leisure. All right.
I have
Also,
to say, I always thought the stop sign was there.
well, it's funny because there was, I don't know, Chris, you were there, and maybe I misheard, but I thought they said that there's supposed to be like stop signs at like intersecting roads with a state road or something like that. They said there's like a need for, potentially up to 15 more stop signs in town or yeah, something like that. But this one had come in from a resident, so they decided to tackle this one first.
Yeah.
All right, up next, also from the Traffic Advisory Committee is the approval on the Jake Brake bylaw. That one.
I thought it looked good. I would make a motion to approve.
I will second. I like that it was short.
I know, really, 4 lines or less, with that. So thank you to that. And I like that there's a fine that goes along with that. So we'll get that going. So motion and a second, Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
All right, we now have a Jake Brake bylaw.
Well, good. Jake
Oh,
Brake bylaw recommendation for town meeting.
Recommendation.
meeting.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Ms. June, I think that you had touched on this a wee bit earlier for approval of job descriptions.
Yes, we had a couple, 3 actually, of the job descriptions come in through personnel that were approved by them and that need to go in front of the board. And I believe it is the transfer station attendant and the transfer station manager. And then also we have another one that Mary and the chief put together for fire EMT that upon your approval will go back to personnel, just because I think there was a little bit of a change in it, but nothing major.
Can we approve these all as one in the same motion?
Yes.
I was going to say, I think you can, unless you have a question on any of them.
Look good.
So
Yeah,
noted
it looks
words.
great. So I would make a motion to approve all 3 of those job descriptions.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second for approval on the job descriptions for manager and a few other things. Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
All right, back to personnel. Yay, personnel.
Yes, thank you.
Very much.
All right, and our last item on the new business. I thought I signed this. Maybe not.
I think you sold the one, signed the one for cultural
No.
council.
She did
Yeah.
sign this one over the
Oh,
weekend.
okay.
However, we got clarification. All of those notes don't matter. What Peg signed is good. So this pre-signing thing maybe is putting the cart before the horse a little bit because it's confusing, but it's good to go. If you guys vote it, this is your standard non-controversial formula grant for the COA. Bang zoom out the door tomorrow morning.
I do have to add that they did send out an updated letter. I think Mary attached it to your
Yep.
It's in the folder.
Yep.
It looks like this may be the last year you have to sign for it
For 10
through,
years. For 10
yeah,
years.
through 2032. So that wasn't actually a typo. That was actually for real.
Wow. Wow.
I know.
Are they going to increase the amount each year though? Or is it going to be
They're
the
still going to
same?
calculate, I think, the formula based on how they normally do it. It's just an
Okay.
administrative part of it.
Right, so nowhere in either the letter or the other thing did I see a total. Do we have a sense of the ballpark this is? Because I know we're above the $6,000 minimum.
I was going to say, I think it's around 6,000. It may be a little bit more. I did not look at the total.
That's apparently another change this year is they're not putting the total right on the face of the contract because they
Yeah.
can't, because it's going to change per formula for 10
Every
years.
year.
Right, every year.
Oh,
Yeah,
Just that I thought we had, because I thought we saw something that like a third of the town qualifies as seniors, and at $12 each, that comes to above $6,000, I thought, but
I thought it was like 5,000 or 6,000.
it's not gonna, I don't think this makes it a controversial. It could be 6,000, could be 50,000. I'm still fine with signing all this. I was just wondering how much it was.
I will look into that and let you know as soon as I find out a dollar amount.
So do you want a motion?
yes, please.
Motion to approve
Allow the chair to sign,
and allow the chair to sign, or
or whoever else needs to sign it. Go second. They have something in my
right.
eye.
There, I got something in my eye. Motion and a second. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
There you go, Mary. It's all signed. You know what, Mary? When you leave a note that says Peg sign here, I
I love
read
it.
and Peg signs here.
Love it.
I
Why
come
don't
with
leave
my
like a
own
check
blue
there,
pen.
Peg's account made out to be, so that you can.
We can do
Well,
that.
that's because I sit there and it calms me as I go through the bills and I look at the electric bill for the town barn that I went through, that I turned the page over and I said, if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. And I just walked away.
Chris,
I
you
went
have a
in
dog license.
Monday to sign. You guys had already signed warrants, but I made a point of looking at some of them too.
Yeah.
And Chris, you have
Yeah.
a couple of dog licenses waiting for you too.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll
There
be
you
right
go.
down.
All right. Get down there before Friday. All right. So then next on the agenda is just our board questions, comments, updates, liaison updates. Go.
You want me to go first? All right.
Go for it.
So I did attend the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee meeting. I believe what we're going to put on the warrant for the Jake breaks, or no, that's not got to do with Jake. Never mind. There will be something on the warrant for the Jake breaks, but I think there's also something about moving stop signs within 500 feet. And you can do that if you accept Mass General Law 90, Section 18B. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. So it needs to be a space saver on the warrant. Ginny Zakatinsky is the one who brought up the sign needed at Carter Street and Route 62. And there's also a request that they did not talk about, just mentioned, for Peach Hill and Randall stop sign. And they approved the Jake break bylaw. And then Peg, you had the light in the center of town that Peg talked about to Traffic Safety Advisory.
The light that no one pays attention to and doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I also had, this afternoon, I had a council on aging meeting. A GPS was needed for the van with a cost of $200, and the council on aging voted to approve. March 23rd is the next grab and go meal. The choices will be grilled salmon, chicken parm, or vegetable lasagna. And the March 16th is the cutoff date to order. And they also suggested a donation of $3, which should be mailed to the Council on Aging. They don't want to take, money from anybody. It's just suggested. They're looking into the Museum of Fine Arts, an online art tour called Art in Bloom from April 6th to the 13th, and it includes, it's virtual. So it includes 97 platforms, and the Council on Aging voted to approve it. I believe it was, I want to say $400. Powder House News is coming out shortly. They need ideas for the Powder House News. They're asking me. Survey for Senior Center on it may be in the Powder House News. buckets of sand and salt were very successful this year. They're hoping to do it again next year. The next meeting is at March 29th at 4 p.m. And I did learn a little ditty that National Lumber sold.
I had heard that.
Huh.
Well,
So anyway, that was my meeting this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and I'm all set.
Mr. Hawkins?
Historical had another meeting this past week. I think it was this past week. Working on the financing or the issues related to getting the Bullard House sort of up and running. They did get the supplemental survey, you know, that when the first survey, what it would take to make the building in good shape, they couldn't get to some areas of the building. And so they were able to free those up and remove some boards and get to those areas of the buildings. The sad part is that that survey found actually more structural problems than they thought existed. And so the estimate's another 166,000 to make it. So I thought the total now is about I don't know the full number in front of me, 443, 483, between $400,000 and $500,000 in, and this is just Tim Wielander's Squaw Hollow sort of estimate. These are not from like an architect that designed things up and other things. And so there's no, he could be right, he could be high, he could be low. It is one of the requests that Historical has put in that I also have put in for ARPA funds potentially to hire the historic architect to get, you know, get enough detail that those are in RFP, RFQ sort of states, and we can get much better numbers on them to get a sense of where that is at. And then there's a whole bunch of ARPA. There's a lot of different ways to try to fund some of that. Some of it's going to be we'll have to have a town talking about whether or not it's worthy of putting that in. If we don't put that in, then what else do we do with the Bullard House? I think that's a bigger discussion, and I'm sure they would love to have some more guidance from us about with these numbers, what our feelings of it are.
I know that Carl had written back something about the Hearst House, that it's a privately owned building from the commission, so it wouldn't apply for any type of ARPA funding to put it back together.
We can debate that more. It would not take much to write a letter to say they're donating it to the town for it to be a town property, if that's what it took to get it set up and running in this town. And so, you know, if the town had desire to do something, we could do something. But you're right. Officially, the Hearst House, which is sort of the oldest building in town, although it's in sort of a Kia form at this moment, is currently with the Historic Society. And one of the things that I encourage the Historic or the Dave Wesley to do is to start thinking of where they want to put it even before getting the money to put it up, because I'd hate to suddenly have money to reassemble it and then not have an agreement about where it goes. I think there's some talk about putting it back at the old cemetery. I think there's some talk about putting it somewhere else in town center. But that should be a conversation that we have relatively soon. Because even if it is still owned by the Historic Society and managed by the Historic Society and put together by the Historic Society, it is likely to go on potentially land that the town owns. And even if it goes on private land, there's likely some permits needed to assemble a structure. And I'd like us to be in a position to support its reassemble.
All right. Energy, we know, is not meeting. I will reach out to them. Earthworks Board doesn't meet or hasn't met in forever. Rec has a meeting this Thursday, and Concom, the biggest thing that they were talking about were all the CRs up on Highland Ridge, and if they were going to let some go, not let any go, what's going on. There was some input from people who were already had bought up there and then realized that there was a conservation path that they pretty much went through their backyard, and well, they didn't know that it was going through their backyard. So they're a little bit upset. They wanted that stopped and everything, but so there's lots of lively discussion continuing. Unfortunately, Concom is not meeting this week. So actually next week, they're not meeting next week. So the earliest that they can bring that back around is March 16th. But other than that, I got nothing else. All right. And did everyone see the article on Mrs. Crackhart in the item?
Yes. It was very
That was
nice.
so sweet. So sweet, so cute. All
Is
right.
it online? Is it online, Peg?
Yeah, it's online.
Okay, all right, I'll look it
And
up.
they're part of the Telegram and Gazette, so it's actually even part of the Telegram and Gazette sites too.
Okay, good.
Oh, I have the wrong section. Yeah, but, and again, the letter or the information that accompanied Mrs. Crackart's letter was written by Wendy, her daughter. So it was pretty amazing to see that when Mrs. Crackart was hired to be a teacher, you know, they gave her X salary. And she said, oh, but when I come back, I'm coming back as Mrs. Crackart. And they said, oh, really? Okay, here's half your salary and your part-time. So, yeah, I was like, holy. But so no, Wendy did a fantastic job on telling her mom's story. So, you know, thank you to, you know, the Rogolinskis and Mrs. Crackart for coming down. All right, well, boys and girls, I think that brings us to, there is no need for an executive session. So that brings us to an adjournment motion.
So moved.
Second,
All right, Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Key-Fi.
All right, stay safe this weekend,
Yep.
highway, be careful, and we'll see you in a week.